Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with a continuation of our High Queen Khalida campaign as the Tomb Kings. So last time around, when we finished up, we'd just defeated the forces of the Silver Host and kind of occupied the Devil's Backbone. Started working our way up onto the creator of The Walking Dead. So really, that is what we were going to spend. I do believe most of this episode kind of building up, working on, and all that sort of stuff. We could level up Marak right now, but I'm kind of broke and I'm trying to save up some money. We are most likely going to have to occupy the Doomglade, and so I definitely want to get down to that at some point. Unfortunately, it does look like we're going to have to fight dinos at some point, and that's really not something I'm too hyped for. Dinos are pretty powerful. I do want to check out if Teotika is allied with... It doesn't appear that they're actually allied with... the Lizardmen, so that should be doable, and should definitely be a situation we can do. There are not the Lizardmen, the Last Defenders, because those guys are usually over here in the east, and if I can engage Teotika before the Last Defenders kick in, that could make things rather much more doable. As you can see, Clan Morse is working its way towards us, but I'm going to try to evade fighting Clan Morse. I don't believe we start in combat with Clan Wars. So that's definitely a little fortunate. I don't really want to fight Clan Wars right now, unless they really start spreading corruption in my territory. Because of course the Tomb Kings do take all the control penalties from being a corrupted territory. If there's still Ratmen here, which there very well might be, then we'll definitely have to take them out. I don't intend to waste my time having to deal with them. So what we're gonna do, we did finish up our healing. We got a quest to be at war with them, and we do have a caster. We could get rid of a Mintok, but I think we could get replenishment, which is never a bad thing. But I think what we'll do is actually work on the Canopic Jar Hoarder. Obviously that's not very magic-y right now, but I'm not too concerned with having the greatest magic right now. I'd much rather get my Canopic Jars going, and we'll do them with the same with High Queen Khalida. Obviously, we're not going to have the greatest, because of this, we're not going to have the greatest stats on our troops, but it doesn't really matter. We're relying on our archery to see us through right now anyway. With our veterans, with our leveling up, we do now have access to some fancier troops, potentially. Though, unfortunately, we're still tier 2 here. We could build a quicksand swamp, but I don't really think that's worthwhile. Skeleton horsemen are pretty terrible. Now, Carton horsemen are surprisingly good, but the skeleton horsemen are pretty terrible. Skeleton horse archer is not the best. So what I think we could do is we could invest into brass works, and then end turn. One of the things worth mentioning is that I do believe the Doom Swamp here or Doomglade here is actually occupied by the Mordkin, because we are taking a bunch of attrition. As you can see, the Last Defender for some reason declared war on Arachnos. I'm not entirely sure why or how they can even see them. I don't really want to fight the Last Defenders right now. I definitely want to take the Lizardmen apart one by one. I'd actually think that we aren't necessarily in the worst position to fight them. Our cavalry should be pretty good at shutting down their major infantry, but obviously that's shutting down their large stuff, their large units. But I'm not entirely sure how good the skeletons are going to be at trading it out with Lizardmen infantry, because of course the Saurus warriors are just brutal, and I don't really have any units I could purchase to counteract that. As you can see, we do have Clan Mordkin camping out over here, so chances are that Clan Mordkin is camping out over here somewhere. We do get him to rout, actually, or retreat, which does mean he most likely controls Doomglade. And we're simply going to be able to auto-resolve this one. We don't have to fight him. We don't really want to fight him because it would be a bit of a waste of time. And we can then occupy Doomglade. It's definitely a pretty solid start there. I'm not entirely sure what units I was... We could definitely get one more unit of skeleton archers in here. And we could try to invest some and put something up in Resetra. What? I'm not entirely sure. Perhaps an income building would be a good idea, because we're really not doing too hot on money. But I'm thinking that for now we'll go with an obelisk, and over here we will go for some to invest in some money. We could get a diamond mine, but actually the gemstones aren't going to give us very much. We'll end up with a charnel plaza, and we'll save. I think we'll save a bit of money. I don't really. We could get that gemstone mine, but we're not really trading right now. Clan Mordkin is now homeless, I do believe. We're able to launch a commandment here. So we'll do, for now we'll do public order because we definitely need to get that under control. And in the meantime over here we are sort of stabilizing here, so I think that will shortly sort of actually we are stabilized, so I think here we could definitely go into growth, just worship Shah. And eventually we'll be able to level this up, get access to Carrion, though Carrion's not the best against dinos, and we should be set. So we're definitely off to, I think, a pretty solid start. Green Khalida's pretty easy in that sense, but I'm not entirely sure how we're going to deal with the dinos. We do have the mighty Krokgar over there, who just wiped out Mordkin. Krokgar himself, though, is an absolute powerhouse. Like, honestly, besides, my army's really weak. I'm not entirely sure what his army consists of. If his army consists of a lot of skinks, we'll see that this turn. If his army consists of a lot of skinks, I might just try to engage and force a fight here, and then plow through his territory. If it does not, then I think it's very risky to go to war with him. Simply because Krokgar is an absolute beast, and with the way his army, I do believe, starts out with cold ones, which aren't the most dangerous thing, but a lot of Saurus warriors could be in there, and if they are, then that will be a very, very short campaign, most likely, because I simply don't have anything to shut cold ones down. Now, we did just get a whole bunch of gold, which is awesome.
News of your conquests spreads far and wide. Your developing power.
We also did just get access to an additional army. So looking at Krokgar's army, we can push out right up to his face, and it doesn't actually give me a full explanation what his army contains. But it does appear to contain a lot of Saurus warriors, which is really unfortunate. We have completed the research of one of our dynasties, and one of the problems with that Wisdom of the 6th Dynasty, which doesn't really give us much, but it does give us these improvements to Shapti, who I'm hoping to eventually field a decent amount of. And we unfortunately don't have quite enough to get access to Tomb King Alcazar. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to start researching some of the other dynasties. We'll try to get access to some relatively simple upgrades. We'll try to go for the Wisdom of the 1st Dynasty. We could obviously, because there's a huge penalty for the dynasty, for each dynasty you complete, we could obviously try. What I think we're going to do is we're going to go scout out the other lizard men, because right now I don't believe Krokgar is associated with him in any way. He doesn't like me, but we could try to offer him a non-aggression pact. And we're going to try to scout out the other lizard men over here in Teotica and see what they got. If they have a weak force, then we could perhaps take them. Unfortunately, because of our very cavalry-centric army early game, we're definitely going to be in a bit of a disadvantage when fighting against them. In the meantime, I definitely do want to save up canopic jars. I do want to get over 200 of them so that I can then get access. So I can then get access to and obviously we do need to get growth just so we can get up to tier 3. But after that happens, I do definitely want to get access to one of the better lords. So we're going to finish this. We're going to end turn. We want to get Lamia up to tier 3 and then get access to Shapti, which should be a huge boost for us. If we can even get 1 unit of a Shapti, that could easily give a run for the money to a lot of those Saurus warriors. Unfortunately, of course, those Saurus warriors do have shields, they have spears, they're very, very tanky. I don't know what Clan Wars. We'll take the non-aggression pact for now because I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do. I'm not decided. I would definitely want to scout out the dinos, see if we can get an opportunistic war there. And if that works out, that would be great. I'd definitely like to go to war with them and try to knock them out just for that short-term gain. Fortunately, 1 unit of a Shapti is really not going to be that great. We're going to decline for now because I don't want to have any relations with them until because I don't want to cripple my relations with everybody by starting a war. Chariot's not on fire. So we're going to go do some scouting. We do finally have the resources to level allow me up to Mausoleum. We could invest in a funerary district. Death is more than a business now. It is life itself. That's pretty amusing. It looks like these guys are not in the best of shape, so we might be able to bait them out. If we could force them to fight us, that would be ideal. Queen Khalida herself is a pretty good melee combatant. Backed by a lot of archers, decent amount of cav, we should be in an okay spot. And we, of course, do get that free unit of Ushapti. But right now, we definitely need to be saving up. I do want to have, by the time the turn hits, I do want to have enough money to recruit Ushapti. So we're going to save up for that. I do believe with 4 turns going, we can afford to get a funerary district, and that will still mean we should have enough money by the time the turn timer goes around to get Ushapti. And yeah, let's see what we have. We have Mortuary Cult. I could get a Flock of Jaff, but I don't really like the Flock of Jaff. It's a fairly lackluster unit. We could also get the Inscribed Kopesh, which is, once again, not particularly great. A lot of these items fairly expensive for fairly little gain. What's the third thing we have access to? It says we have access to 3 things. An Arcane item. Scroll of Shielding. Not a terrible item, especially given that the rest of these items are not particularly good, except maybe Neferata Scrolls of Mighty Incantations, but the rest of them I don't think are very good. So we're definitely rolling through pretty efficiently. We'll throw things in the fast forward. And I think we'll try to go to war with these lizard men here. As long as their settlement isn't too high level, they shouldn't have the best of garrisons. They'll have some low-end troops in there. And if we can we can besiege them, force them to try to sally out and fight us in the field, that would be even better. That would really be the ideal situation. And hopefully we can kind of take on them. And if that works out, then we'll really be set. So we could, of course, bring a second army up immediately, and then equip it with the Lord later, which might be a good idea. I might do that. Give him that high-end Lord as it later. Just trade him out with one of those. I think that's what we're gonna end up doing. We'll start building a second stack already. We'll want our army to be fairly well positioned to immediately go reinforce us. So what we're going to do is we're going to recruit a Lord. We get Wrathful or Scavenger. We'll take For now, we'll take Scavenger. I don't think either of them are particularly good, but we're going to immediately invest in archers. We're going to immediately invest in chariots, and we'll start recruiting our cannon fodder on a global basis. On the ground, so far we won't really invest in anything. And we are still saving up for those Ushapti, because I do believe Ushapti costs 3,000. High Queen Khalida's Lord here that we did get boosted. I think what we're going to do is we're going to get false protection, even though I'm trying to stack those canopic jars. If we look at this army, it's only 12 stack. So we'll trespass a little bit. Oh, you can see the beastmen here are at war with them, and those are some powerful beastmen. You can also see this is not a particularly strong stack here in Teotihuacan. Obviously, there's 2 Croc Swords, which is immensely powerful. The Croc Swords are stupid strong against anything I put on the field. That said, I do have access to both Sepulchral Stalkers as well as Knights. And while the Necropolis Knights aren't anti-large, they will definitely tear through the Croc Swords. Croc Swords are kind of like a Ushapti. And so it's really not their forte, killing units in that style. Let's see. I'm trying to save those canopic jars. I have found that the Flock of Jaff is simply not a very good unit. I've tried to make it work in several different situations, but I found that it's not particularly good at disrupting enemy backlines. It's not great at killing enemy lords. It's probably better than a unit of skeleton warriors, but not for holding. It's very squishy and doesn't have the biggest HP pool, so just in general been kind of disappointed by the Flock of Chaff. So we're going to try to go besiege Teotihuacan. We might kill these beastmen along the way, because I don't really care for the beastmen either, and could give me some free canopic jars. And yeah, we'll just try to fight them. You can see the last defender is definitely taking advantage of the situation here to take control of the Golden Tower. The golden tower does provide huge amounts of cash. Once I get my second stack, I'm going to have to collapse on the last defenders and kick their rears out of here. I do believe AI has actually been nerfed. This is on very hard campaign mode, but I do believe AI's income has been nerfed, so now they can't really field 2 stacks on a single settlement. In fact, they're struggling to field a single stack here. Now, those guys did enter hidden encampment stance, but we'll go besiege Teotihuacan. Obviously, these guys are probably going to feel a little betrayed by that, since we're theoretically on pretty good terms with them. Tough luck. We're definitely going to go war. Just try to get an optimal engagement here. So it's going to be 20 stack on. I do believe a 20 stack. But we have a lot of chaff infantry, which we can afford to lose. We'll declare war. As you can see, where it's actually pretty favorable to us. And so we can besiege them. Now, as you can see, this is definitely not going to be a pushover battle. The Croxigors are going to be silly in how tanky they are. But we do have High Queen Khalida, who should be able to beat the Toad here. They do have a Sar's Scar Veteran, which could definitely be a bit dangerous. But I do believe we should be able to take this fight if we so choose. So what we're going to do is we're going to start building up a siege tower and perhaps a battering. We don't really need a battering ram. And I think that should be really good for us. So, without further ado, we're just going to continue siege, yeah, just keep going. Let's see. We obviously don't have quite that much cash. We're aiming for... ultimately, we'll want this maxed out, but I think what we'll get is we'll definitely try to get the Ushabti in this army. We can't quite get the Ushabti yet because we're not at level... We don't have this... We're not quite leveled up to that point. Yeah, I don't think... obviously, Karen are decent, but against lizards, they're not the most useful. We'll simply end turn here. And we'll see if they decide to sally out and attack us. If they do, I do believe we should be able to win. We just have to be very cautious about dealing with those Croxigors. But if we get our... Obviously, with our heal procs, we'll eventually get access to a whole free unit of the Ushabti. Ushabti should be able... I would imagine are very, very strong against Lizardmen, especially against anything except their Sword Spears, of course. Who probably trade really effectively. At least in early game. And yeah, so I definitely think we should be doing okay. If they don't sally out, I'll be a little... You can see those guys exited their ambush. Oh, we discovered their ambush, actually. We'll see if they decide to sally out. And they actually decide to sally out and fight us. It does give them some favorability in this fight. We don't have the best of defensive holding sort of infantry, so there's a good chance our cannon fodder will kind of fall apart. We definitely will have to put down the Croxigors and those sorts of units as quickly as we possibly can. But that said, we can easily outrange their skirmishers. You can see about half of this force is cannon fodder infantry, which on a one-to-one basis, I think Skinks will beat skeleton warriors and skeleton spears. But they definitely can't kill them in an efficient manner. So as long as we just shoot these guys down, shred through the Sars warriors with our archery, and then have our cavalry ready to deal with, and use our chariots to deal with the enemy troops with rear charges, kind of try to break them. Sars warriors are definitely breakable. It's one of those things I think people underestimate. It's one of those things you realize, especially in quick match. In campaign, Sars warriors often feel very OP because you get them at tier 1, you're crushing all these low tier units, and AI is terrible at flanking and pincering. But then when you actually play against the lizard men, or if you're playing in a campaign, you realize the fact that they don't have immunity to psychology, and they actually they can actually be collapsed through using fear and terror. It's definitely not something they're amazing against. They're not super weak to it, but they're also not invulnerable. It's sort of like dwarf warriors or miners. While they definitely have the high leadership, it's definitely not like they're immune to it. So definitely one of those things to keep in mind, that we might be able to cause a fear or terror out here that obviously don't have access to terror. This is more than good enough Winds of Magic. And so what we're going to do is we're going to anchor our line with the Nehekarn warriors. We're kind of going to spread out here with our troops. Obviously, most of our army is going to be centered up in this box of archers. Put our spears there. Put our spears here in the back. We'll try to spread out our archers. One of those things you want to try to avoid at least a little bit. And against AI, it's really, I think, worthwhile to keep your archers in a box formation. It's a little more risky, or quite a bit more risky against humans, because if they have artillery, for example, then you might be in for a bad time. So we're going to try to make some room here. I definitely want to space out my boxes a little bit, just for the simple reason that I don't want to have my archers interfering with each other and kind of slowing down their firing animation or slowing down how fast they engage. We'll put all these guys. I think we might actually put them in their own control group this time. Have Hind Queen Khalida and our caster here in the heart of things, in control group 2. I think we might rename that control group 1, control group 2. Chariot's gonna be control group 3, and we'll put them out on a flank together. And then these guys can be on another flank here as control group 4. With that, we're gonna start battle, and we will select these guys and kind of make a push forward. We'll push our chariots out to the flank. We'll check out what we got here. We got skinks, we got our star spears. We definitely need to be wary of the star spears. I really hate the way that pivoting tends to kind of fail, but we will pivot our army here just to be better set up for engagement. Unfortunately, those star spears on the flanks are really going to be a problem, and I do believe stars where we have pretty high mass. But shortly, our archers are going to be in position to engage, so that'll be huge. And you can see they're all immediately opening up on these skink cohorts, though it doesn't seem to be doing the best of damage. Obviously, it's important to also keep in mind that skeleton archers don't have the best of damage per shot. And we'll engage here on the skink skirmishers. We'll go engage those guys. And as the SARS guys do close in on us, we will launch our charges into them, simply trying to just tie them down. We definitely want to swing our chariots wide to try to get them behind the enemy lines. And now we can push in. Unfortunately, I did accidentally use the wrong hotkey there, which is a bit of a major mistake. And you can see, not the best idea, but here you should be able to crush those king skirmishers pretty quickly. You can see some of these guys are already routing. High Queen Khalida here in the heart of things. We can then drop a Foz protection on our skeleton warriors, and then swing around the flank with our chariots, making a move to collapse our foes. You can see over here the skink cohort has already collapsed, and you can see definitely our archers doing some major work here. Doing some very, very solid work. The skink cohort's being a nuisance. There are blessed chameleon skinks over there. But we should be able to kind of collapse those guys. And then over here we can get a rear charge into the back of these SAR spears. And you can see our archers definitely doing some major work. We definitely need to try to push through. But we have broken those skinks, and we have almost broken up these SAR spears, which don't seem to want to break, so we're going to have to turn back and try to launch a new charge. Now we're also going to disengage with our big units here and try to pull back with our troops there. You can see, unfortunately, those Croxigors are in the heart of the fray here. I'm going to push High Queen Khalida in there. We should have our caster here somewhere. We'll use him to cast a buff on our Nehakarn warriors. And if we are able to, we can engage on Croxigors. I'm okay with that sort of fight. Over here, we have managed to force a rout. We'll try to get our chariots clear. But as you can see, things are going relatively well. We can engage over here on the Sars warriors. We get our chariots clear. Our opponent's troops are definitely kind of routing and falling apart. We can then push forward to these guys. Over here on the flank, you can see the Croxigors are definitely being shielded a little bit, and they're definitely being helped a whole bunch by those poison troops against our cavalry there. And our cavalry is definitely kind of a troop we need really badly. We'll try to tie those guys down. Unfortunately, they're definitely isolating our troops a little bit. This is definitely taking a lot of micro. It's a pretty micro-intensive composition. We'll try to knock out those Croxigors. I don't believe I know where my caster is. We'll try to get him clear. We'll try to get our cav clear. Just try to get him out of dodge and into at least semblance of safety. We also do get our Shopti cast, which we can use over here to hopefully cover our retreating cavalry. Unfortunately, High Queen Khalida is definitely a bit of a rough spot there, so we will try to get her clear. and hopefully we can get her out of there. Our chariots are definitely not having the best of times, of course, against the Sarge Warriors. We'll try to use them against those Sarge Warriors over there, just tying things down. The Nekarn Warriors are getting shredded. Our shop tier up and running now. We definitely don't. The problem is, of course, that the Kroxigors are able to keep pursuing us because they are poisoning our troops. And it is important to keep in mind, Sepulchral Stalkers are not particularly fast. They're a pretty slow unit, actually. But we do get Khalida out of dodge just in time. And we should be able to kind of just run roughshod over the enemy troops. Over here, the Necron Warriors are falling apart, and they will disintegrate before they really achieve very much. We can try to get our archers into the fray there. And then buff up our Ushapti and recharge the Kroxigors. As you can see, our archers are definitely not doing the best either, and our opponent is definitely trying to focus out our heroes. They're basically doing lord sniping here. I don't really care if I lose my infantry. Obviously, they're always replaceable. It's one of those things with lizardmen you get kind of spoiled with, but you definitely don't have to worry about them too much. Over here, we are dragging the Kroxigors into the muck. We are routing their troops in the back line. Now, one of the problems is, of course, that our Lich Priest is being a nuisance. We will debuff these guys over there. We have debuffed them by taking away almost all of their armor, and we can kind of throw our archers into the fray now that they are starting to run low on ammo. So, all in all, things are definitely going okay. We are going to be dragging these Kroxigors into the muck. We should be in a decent spot. Somewhere we do have our chariots who are in the back, fighting it, slaying it out against Blessed Chameleon Skinks. Kroxigors are going to get dragged down. Our flank is definitely disintegrating. And we're going to have to try to shut that down somehow. We'll buff up your skeleton archers. And then we will try to hit those guys. We do want to try to keep our chariots on top of those Blessed Chameleon Skinks. We'll try to deal with the Toad. And we need to run with High Queen Khalida. And definitely try to do some damage here. As you can see, Kroxigor is getting into the fray there. And our opponent's troops are finally starting to really rout. Unfortunately, this battle has essentially cost us our entire front line. So definitely not the best situation. That said, it should have cost the Lizards the vast majority of their army, so that's definitely a bit of a win there. And yeah, we should be in a decent spot if we are forced to slug it out. We can definitely try to pick off those Blessed Chameleon Skinks, try to pick off these Blessed Star Spears. As you can see, the Kroxigors are basically dead. We definitely want to try to finish those guys off if we can. We'll try to finish the Star Spears off. High Queen Khalida definitely not in the best of shape there. It was going to be a close battle no matter what we did. Try to hit those skinks. We're going to throw things into fast forward simply to get things moving. I don't know if we can drag this guy down into the muck. He's pretty quick, actually, surprisingly at 34 speed, and our cavalry is not particularly quick. They're hitting him, and I don't think he's obviously big, so he's not really able to. Here you can see the Blessed Chameleon Skinks just getting run down by the chariots, which is really good. If we can get rid of these guys, if we can completely wipe them out, that would be perfect. They're one of those units that are really a real nuisance. My archers don't do a lot of damage to them. We did kill their lord. And they're going to have very little left at the end of this match, which is perfect. It will mean that even if we're forced to fight with no front line, we should still do well. Chameleon Skinks do get annihilated, and we can end battle with confidence. So it does give us a Pyrrhic victory, but that's rather okay. I'm completely fine with that. And yeah, all's well. As you can see, most of our opponent's troops died. They're down to just a handful, and of course, what these troops are is beyond me. I'm not entirely sure how many of their high-quality troops. There's a good chance a lot of the troops that escaped were skinks because they're too fast for my troops to catch. So if all they've left is some skinks, it's really rather irrelevant. It does suck that we lost some of our Nekarn warriors because they are a fairly good unit, and obviously I won't be able to recruit them until I get back into my own. Well, either until I take this territory or get back into my own. As you can see, the chariots doing some absolutely monstrous work. The cavalry did a good job of shutting down the Kroxigors, but I kind of committed them early to shut down a few skinks. They didn't do that job that great or that quickly, and they ended up getting bogged down in a bad situation. So that was definitely my fault. You can see the archers definitely doing good work. They're a very, very powerful unit, I think, in the early game for the Nehakarans. Or for the Tomb Kings. Definitely, though, that situation against Star Warriors is very rough, and this is making me dread my encounter with Kroq-Gar, who's going to have an even more powerful composition than this. Most likely, he's got shielded Star Warriors rather than the unshielded variant, who are, of course, much more susceptible to my archery. I might want to get more spells. Perhaps the Knight of a Mintok would have been good. I'm not entirely sure that would have helped. Lore of Light is one of those lores that just doesn't suit the Tomb Kings that well. All their units are already unbreakable. I'm surprised the Toad got this many kills. 76 kills is a lot. I don't know if he does a lot of splash and was fighting against units that are really bad against him, or if he had some sort of magic that was doing that. I wasn't paying too much attention to what spells I was throwing out. As you can see, those Star Warriors, if they got into range, if they got into combat, they were doing work. Fortunately, though, because they don't tend to rout, or they weren't really trying to routing all too often, I was able to murder most of them. As you can see, most of the skinks got wiped out too. So we'll definitely see what we get here. We could bind souls, which would be great, because I definitely think we're going to do that. I did want to do canopic jars, but honestly, we need the heals because we really do need to occupy this territory and make it our own. You can see Teotihuacan at this point is crippled. It's very much a place I can conquer. Bury him. We'll bury him. And we'll see what our chances of winning here are. Now, High Queen Khalida can get Canopic Jar Hoarder. We do, however, have to keep sieging. I think we might take our... I don't think I should lose High Queen Khalida and if I auto-resolve the last battle. But I'm a little worried that I'll lose the priest, and I definitely do not intend to lose it. So I'll probably quick saving before doing that. But we'll simply keep going here, making ourselves a nuisance. And yeah, we'll see how things go. Over here, still recruiting, still waiting on those upgrades. We're still a little shy of getting our beloved Ushapti. Getting high-end units for Tomb Kings is rather difficult. I do kind of want to get a Skull Repository at some point just to get that Screaming Skull Catapult, but oh man, is it expensive. All of their... It's, given that their economy is just so weak, it's rather difficult. Now, of course, one of the cool things about them is that their fortifications are actually pretty monstrous. Because the Skeletal Garrison is not, it's actually pretty trashy. But as you get your tier 2 with Ushapti, and then tier 5 or tier 4 here with the tier 4 with the Necrosphinx in there and Tomb Guard, it's really rather powerful. The power spikes are huge there. But right now I can't really afford that. We're kind of waiting on everything stabilizing in Resetra, where we do have some debuffs due to corruption. And I think that's it. I think there's really not much else we can do. I don't know what right we can do. The Trials Necrotect is actually really good, but we're going to end turn there. Simply keep sieging. We got a massive heal from that one battle. If we get, I'm not entirely sure if this is Kroq-Gar's army. If Kroq-Gar has 2 armies, that would be a big problem. But if we can hit Kroq-Gar 2-1 with our armies, then I think we can roll him up fairly efficiently. Once we've got Kroq-Gar out of the picture, then we can kind of roll south and really... I'm not entirely sure what this guy thinks he's up to. But once we get Kroq-Gar out of the picture, we can really kind of start looking to where we want to expand and where we want to go. I do believe that mountains are not a convenient territory for Khalida, which kind of sucks. I think that's really one of her only downsides. Now we are going to Quake save. I do apologize if this ends up... No, we're not. Oh! They got confederated. Oh, that is really unfortunate. Really unfortunate. I don't know what's in this army. That is really rather rough. Ugh. We're gonna fall back and rethink our lives. I do need to... Kroq-Gar does have me outranked by a slight amount, but not by the craziest amount here. He does have 5 settlements, which means he controls these 2 and then the ones around the corner there. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to build up to crush Kroq-Gar, because Kroq-Gar is an absolute nuisance, and being a pain in the rear. So we're going to start building our statuary of Khemri. I don't intend to fight Kroq-Gar without my second army. Kroq-Gar is simply too powerful right now. We're going to have to fall back. We're going to have to recover, regroup all our troops, recoup Khalida, of course, and her losses. That was just a very unfortunate turn of events. Maybe we could go to war with Queek, because Queek is rather weak. We could try to negotiate with Kerkazul, but there's not much to negotiate with him for. Not entirely sure. We could get more chariots, of course. Chariots are always good. We could try to level up to sepulchral stalkers, though those are incredibly expensive. That's 7,500 gold that we really don't have right now. Though they might end up being practically mandatory if we end up trying to fight them. Things are definitely looking. That was definitely a big problem. Definitely does not fill me with confidence. It makes me sad. And there was no way to hasten that either, because you can't build siege. I couldn't build siege towers any faster than 2 turns. I guess I could have gone for a battering ram instead. I probably should have. But I did not, so I'm paying the price. Alrighty, let's see. Let's see. So we're constantly still working on this army here. We could, I don't know if we can actually recruit anything. We could get them. Oh, I lost the unit of skeleton troops on what's her face. So we'll just walk back into our territory, I think. Yeah, I'm trespassing on Kroq-Gar's territory, but that's his fault. For confederating whoever it was. This is definitely not fun. We could get more chariots, I suppose. Which might not be a bad investment. We could aim for crypt barracks. The problem is that just none of these options are that appealing. I think what we'll end up doing is going for another bone shaper just to get more bone. Our other alternative is to try to get Marak up to tier 2, and that way open up a slot there. We're growing at this point. I don't really think we need that much more growth. We're growing at a pretty. Oh, we can leave the growth. These decisions. We'll go for Bone Shaper. We'll get some extra chariots. They're a good pseudo cav. They're definitely better pseudo cav than anything else the Tomb Kings get. So we'll kind of keep going there. Definitely crushing Kroq-Gar is going to be a nightmare. I think I might go after Queek actually. I don't know if Queek controls all the south here, and there's a good chance he does. But he's actually going to make life much easier for me because he's ending his non-aggression pact. The Skaven in general are not a particularly threatening faction low tier play. They're very easy to break. I have a lot of chariots. They do have a very, very annoying sort of ability when they on the defense. They have that bomb that goes off on the units that are below 50% that they can put on a unit, the warp bomb. That if a unit's below 50% HP, they can put it on them, and it does immense damage, especially to squish units like Tomb Kings have. I don't believe it's as effective as some of the more heavily armored troops, but or single model troops, but definitely it's absolutely brutal. We can plow up northward. We can then get a Mastaba here, which I think is what we'll do. Try to get our Zetra leveled up a little bit. Over here, I don't know if I can quite get anything. Nope. So most of this army is going to end up being filler anyway, so I'm going to give the Nehekharn warriors back to Khalida. So I might as well crank out some more skeleton spears. And get working, basically. Queen Khalida will be there soon. Obviously, recruiting's gonna be slow, but we're gonna have to get our Shopti somehow. So I think we're actually going to do is we're going to undo all of that. We're gonna take this army down south. And because I want to do Shopti and the Nehekharn warriors and Khalida's army, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start recruiting skeleton spears here, and we'll do our second round of recruiting down here in Resetra, whilst Khalida's up here recruiting, because I don't want her being slowed down. Shopti do take 2 turns to recruit, so I don't want that being delayed. So all in all, going all pretty well. Yeah, fighting some of these guys will be really annoying. I'm so not looking forward to fighting the last defenders. Characters will go into war with everybody. Supposedly the reworked orcs are ridiculously powerful now. Now apparently the orcs dominate the south east, or the southeast of the old world, which I don't know. I don't have any confirmation of that. But yeah, so let's see, we got a rank gained, which we can use to invest in more Canopic Jar Hoarder. We don't really want Foz protection all that much. We could jump borders here, and then hopefully get access, and then this guy can move down south and start recruiting more skeleton spears. Now you might be wondering why I'm not doing skeleton warriors. It's because they're pretty terrible. I'm not entirely sure if I don't know if I can recruit any heroes, but I don't think I can. We don't get access to any bonus. Yeah. So over here, we can definitely recruit a unit of Shopti. We can recruit 2 units of Nehekharn warriors, and we actually just got access to chariots, which I completely forgot about. That said, we can put the chariots in her army too. That's okay. But right now we don't have that crazy legendary lord who does have fast. Who does have easy access to chariots. Actually, I might not want to do that because we don't have much of a front line right now. We'll get spears and we'll put the chariots on this. I suppose we will put the chariots on this army. We'll finish that way, and then this doesn't quite work out. It's okay. We'll actually, these are all troops we can recruit back in the south, so we'll finish this up. It doesn't really work out no matter what we do. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. We're not in too much of a rush. And then we can we'll just recruit turn by turn and kind of see what happens. We definitely want those 2 chariots in this army though. And we're gonna end turn. And Queek doesn't like us, so what is he going to do? Declare war on us? He wants. I don't understand why. First he rejects the non-aggression pact, then he immediately wants it back, and it doesn't really make sense why the AI does that. We're not going to worry too much about it. We're going to build up an army and go crush Queek, because right now fighting, I definitely need to build up my armies. I need to get more. High Queen Khalida is almost done. Over here we can move all the way to there and get our chariots done. That'll give us a decent, actually pretty solid cavalry contingent. High Queen Khalida is going to have her Shopti in a turn, which will put her in a pretty solid position. getting higher tier shop is just not going to happen. We could obviously start investing, get Marak leveled up to tier 3 or tier 2 because of course High Queen Khalida is in the house. And yeah, we're slowly but surely working our way up with those canopic jars. It's going to take a while, but that's okay. Actually, I do believe High Queen Khalida should be able to simply finish off with those spears in the turn. So yeah, we're actually we're not. It's not really going to change much of anything. That's all right. And turn. So all in all, things are definitely going pretty well. There you can see Clan Moor's running out, and they actually got peace with Carrick Zorn right now. I don't really care for that though. The dwarves should be able to beat them though. Of course, with the rework, I'm not sure how bad the dwarves are now, because supposedly now the orcs are just auto-resolving, or I guess winning their way up north. I do think that with the way auto-resolve is set up, there's always going to be some major imbalances, just because auto-resolve is in this game is really, it's not wonky. It's definitely not the best. We're actually gonna, rather than finishing recruiting up here, we're gonna move Queen Khalida to over here. And finish our recruiting up on the border. One of the things that we can do, of course, is once we get access to the 6th dynasty, once we get access to this guy, we will have access to a whole bunch of new chariots, and 4 extra chariots is definitely going to be a pretty solid improvement. We'll also have some improvements to his army chariots, so we could definitely have almost a chariot-based army, with perhaps just a handful of archers and infantry and support to provide that anvil. Over here, definitely improvement to Shopti, though unfortunately these are just vanilla Shopti. And otherwise, here we do have improvement to Lich Priests. That's decent, though untainted. I'm honestly not that fascinated with the improvements given by each individual lord here. They're decent for sure. Tax rate plus 5% is probably one of the best here, and yeah, it's all decent for sure. But I'm not sure I would say any of it is particularly amazing. So, but either way, we're gonna finish our turn here. We're gonna get everything going. And we can actually build another charnel plot. So we simply want to build up that income, get the money flowing in. It's really difficult for Tomb Kings to get much of an economy, but it makes sense because they obviously don't have to pay upkeep. So if they had a powerless economy like a lot of other factions, that would be a big problem. So last defenders have wiped out the Ripper Horns, which means that their only real competition right now is going to be me. So that definitely makes me a little worried that I could get backdoored. So we definitely need to stave that off for a little bit if we possibly can. While we crush weak. Knock him out. I don't really see much of a chance though against. Well, if we manage to tag team Krokar's armies, then we definitely stand a solid chance. But if we're not able to do that, then we're in deep trouble. So, coming around to another turn. That said, Queek's territory is fairly easy to tear through. We'll move to here with High Queen Khalida. This lord is obviously there to be replaced. We're gonna go. Obviously, this is occupied by Queek, and we're gonna declare war now. And as you can see, the power bar is actually in our favor a little bit. Unfortunately, you can see there is a bit. It's gonna take a bit of sieging, so we're gonna get a siege tower going. They've fortified their little hiding hole here. And that's going to be a bit of a nuisance to clear through, but shouldn't be too much of a problem. We could get access to diamonds, or just save for proper garrison. And in the meantime, everything else is kind of stabilizing, so that's good. And we'll enter. So definitely the fortification is going to be annoying. We don't have siege attacker. We never will, or we definitely won't for a while. Well, that's one of the cool things about the other Tomb Kings is that a lot of them do get units with siege attacker. If Krokar declares war on me right now, we are in deep trouble. We are definitely in deep trouble. We're going to have to probably retreat from this war with Clan Moors. We'll simply raise the Grant Massive and pull back. And yeah, it's all in all pretty decent. Krokar is probably going to come marching up from the south, which is a bit of a problem. We don't have the armies to really handle him. But I didn't expect him to get quite so angry so fast, but that's major miscalculation.
Bring me Neferata's head.
Here we can definitely do Siege Granite Massive, and this is actually pretty auto-resolvable. We do lose a handful of Skeleton Spears, but nothing too serious. And then we can either occupy. I think that's what we'll do. We'll simply occupy the place. And as you can see, it's actually already got fortifications because that's what was there before. So definitely a pretty solid go. And we can then get, of course, Skeleton Spears, which we'll have access to before the next turn. Over here, we could engage this army because it's a pretty weak sort of Skaven army. Of course, Krokar is probably going to come marching up from the south and apply some major pressure, which is going to be really annoying. You can get access to more chariots, which is good, but let's see. Might be a good idea to start fielding either more archers or more chariots as we. We'll go for income because we really need that right now. Most possible economy will help us. I can Khalida could engage. It's somewhat tempting. It'll spend a turn replenishing. And we will get Root Marcher on our other lord. So with that, we'll end turn, and we're definitely most likely going to come under heavy pressure from the south, from those rather annoying lizards. We'll see. I'm not entirely concerned about losing this territory because most of it is not. Clan Wars over there is actually going to retreat a little bit, surprisingly. This territory is really rather undeveloped, so it's not. If I lose bits and bobs or little segments of it, it's not the end of the world. I can always counterattack and take it back, as long as I don't start taking loss in Liberus, Marak, all that sort of stuff, because that's really where my main strength right now is lying. We'll see if Krokar is trespassing on our land. Despite declaring war, he's actually leaving us alone right now. And we could definitely kind of march out with Queen Khalida and engage over there. Over here, we could replace this lord. Trustworthy, that's wrong. We could get Alcazar of the 6th dynasty. And we could get access to an additional Necrotect. So what we're going to do is we're going to get Alcazar unlocked in a turn. We could then also pursue these guys with Khalida. And I don't really think we'll have to force march down south to defend this area. If I lose Doomglade, it's not the end of the world. Like I said, I don't really care too much. And Queen Khalida, I'd rather not lose her. So, but let's see, we get the net of a Mintok. I think it's going to be a useful investment. I should have possibly gotten Canopic Jars there, but it's okay. We'll try to. Oh, nope. Nope. It's about to march straight into the midst of Queek and the other Skaven. But what I think we're going to do, we're simply going to retreat. We've gotten our replenishment. We'll pull back with our lord. We'll start replenishing, and we'll try to perhaps organize peace. We're not going to get peace. If we can bait him out this way, perhaps to come besiege Granite Massive, then we'd be in a really solid spot to engage on him, and we could crush him pretty efficiently. In the meantime, King Hotmas over here, we could try to replace him with next turn, so it should be good. He's gonna with a much better lord. I'm not really gonna invest in. Well, we could invest in cavalry. I think we'll invest in a Quicksand Swamp. Get that cavalry going, and we'll level up to those sepulchral stalkers. We might shortly have to. we might shortly have to fight the lizard men, who will probably come marching up from the south. And I could definitely be... interestingly enough, Clan Morse decided not to bother kind of engaging on us there. Yeah. I think we'll have to... Once we replace our Lord, I think we're going to have to save, because this episode's already gone on for a while. I obviously don't like to make episodes longer than an hour. I think it's a lot of... kind of a lot of... it starts getting long and prolonged, and not the most fun to watch, I suppose. Perhaps... If you guys don't agree, then be sure to tell me. I do generally try to find a good, concise area to stop, but I don't always luck out like that. Over here, you can see Krokar is coming north, and we do have this horde of annoying Skaven over there. So we could engage on them right now. What we're going to do is we're going to march south and move to engage Krokar. I don't really care for controlling Granite Massive. It's not a territory I'm too concerned about. Marak is leveled up. I'm definitely not concerned about losing Marak, though. We can start researching more technology. We can work on our Shabti a little bit. Now, actually, one of the cool little tricks you can do with is that you research up until you have one turn left on the dynasties, and that way, eventually, you just have one turn left on all of them, and that way you avoid getting crushed by that penalty. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to push High Queen Khalida over here. We will drop King Hotmas in favor of a Alcazar. And we will give him all the various followers from King Hetep. And this guy should be pretty decent. You can see his stats. The stats seem to be pretty generic. So he does get... I do believe these are some of the unique abilities here. Extra hero recruit ranks, better Casco Souls, casualty replenishment rate seems really solid. Definitely some interesting abilities here. The bonus to Shabti is probably the strongest, I'd assume. Nonetheless, with that, we will, of course, be sacrificing Granite Massif. And hopefully Krokar does decide to come up. I don't know if he'll be able to besiege us in this turn. So I think we'll see what he decides to do. He might not be able... I'm not entirely sure if he can see us, or if the AI is stupid enough to march up. If he decides to besiege Resetra, he can obviously force us to immediately attack it. He does have Stegodon in there, so he doesn't have to build siege equipment. He can just take advantage of the siege attacker. But it looks like we might be able to engage on him. Of course, we are going to lose Granite Massive here. There's no way in heck we're able to defend that. Queek actually does have a pretty solid starting army now. Definitely better than what he gets in the... We're definitely in a bit of a rough spot here, because Krokar's in one area, and these Skaven are coming in from the other, opposite end. So we might be forced to lose Marak, which is going to be really unfortunate. That's really something I was hoping not to suffer. But it looks like it's going to happen, and there's no way we're really going to be able to avoid it. And depending on whether or not we're able to engage Krokar is really going to be kind of the crux of the matter here. That mission's something we can't really complete. Krokar over here with some blessed troops, definitely going to be a bit of a nuisance.
We begin.
Something a bit of a pickle here. So what I think we'll do is we will swing north. I'm tempted to simply enter March stance. That way we will be depleted a little bit when we finally do get forced to battle. And the AI will that way get a little greedier and be a little more confident about fighting us. So I think that's what we're going to do. I don't really care about losing the south too badly. I'm definitely a little worried about Libras getting backdoored here. But if push comes to shove, we do have access to those extra chariots from our lord, which should just tide us over for a little bit. And we can always recover later. We'll push out to here, and we'll see. Maybe Creek will get greedy. Obviously, the Skaven don't have the worst of odds here. We can reinforce each other. And I'm not going to level up the Doomglade. That's completely not worthwhile. And yeah, I do believe we're just simply gonna take a pause here, and we'll see what happens in the upcoming turns.